and it is our 19th podcast of Gargoyles Reawakening. I am Talia Levitt, Lisa, but Talia Levitt online. I'm joined by the very talented Karel, known as Kodalea,
Welcome, everyone.
and our returning guest, who I think we're just keeping him, Greg XB. Welcome, Greg.
Welcome.
Hi, yes, the mediocre Greg XP.
Oh, come on.
No, you are not mediocre. I will totally rephrase that. So, Greg is probably the person who knows gargoyles the best, other than Greg Wiseman himself. It is such a pleasure to talk to him.
No.
See,
You're embarrassing me, no.
Now I made you embarrassed. I either don't give enough praise or I give too much. So there's no happy medium. It's just always a pleasure to have him on the show.
Yeah. Don't put me on a pedestal like that.
You want me to take that out?
Don't worry.
No, this is funny. Keep it in.
Okay.
Well, we have been on a bit of a hiatus, as everyone has known, and we apologize. It's been some life things that have come up, and we are again vowing to make this a more regular podcast. I was telling Greg and Karel just a little bit. I have an autoimmune disorder. I've been having some issues with it, so that's been part of the hiatus. So I'll take full responsibility. It has nothing to do with anybody else or anything else on the show. It does not mean that we are abandoning ship. We are here, we are strong, and we are ready to deliver more gargoyles. So the last time we recorded, we were tackling the Awakening arc. We ended with Awakening Part 2, and we also had an awesome interview with Greg. We're definitely going to continue that, and we want to talk about Awakening Part 3. So we'll definitely be talking about that a little bit today. Not a little bit, we're going to do the whole episode. And then we'll see where that takes us. But we definitely want to catch up with Greg. He's been up to some cool stuff too, so we want to showcase that.
Nothing I've done has been as cool as Karel's trip to New York City.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Let's talk about that first.
Yeah, let's talk about that first.
Well, what can I say? It was a special trip for me, as you can say. And it was my first time in New York, and I had the pleasure to meet in real life our own Greg XB. So it was like the cherry on the shortcake, to be honest. And I had the opportunity to visit the cloister, which I wanted to visit like for maybe 20 years. And just to walk around in Manhattan, and I had like a strange feeling, like, you raise your eyes up and you just hope like to see like a dark silhouette in the sky, and it's not happening.
Oh, I know that feeling. Every time I go by Central Park South, I wish the Erie building was there, but it's not. It's just not real. Why does reality suck?
Yeah. So I was like in the middle of at the same time of the Gargoyles episode, and in the 10th Kingdom series, which takes place mostly in New York. Like I was just in part of these two shows, and I love those both, and I was very, very, very pleased to experience that.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
What was your favorite part of the trip, or is it just too hard to pinpoint one?
Well, the cloister was. I told you, Elisa, it was a very, very special moment for me.
Yes.
Not only because of gargoyles, but with like a personal anecdote for me. Actually, in the cloister, there's a part of a sculpture that actually is from France, from where I was going in vacation. Well, it's a Jesus Christ sculpture, and it was beheaded in the French Revolution, and the head in the Louvre, and the body is in the cloister in New York. And actually, I was many years ago. I found the head in the Louvre, and I just encountered the body in the Met in the cloister, and well, it was like a like the Indiana Jones moment when you find the the relic.
Yes, yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So well, it was very very special for me for this also. Yeah.
Oh, no, I remember you talking about that, and it just seemed like such a special moment for you.
Yeah.
You almost wrote it like it was like this piece of you had been missing until you saw it. So I think that's fantastic that you were able to finally see the body in the cloisters.
Yeah, because I only heard about it and finally I found it. Like it was like the ending of a loot quest. I don't know the real term, but like a 20 years loot quest. Finally finding its end. So
That is awesome. I'm a terrible Gargoyles fan. I live in New York. I've born and bred New Yorker. I've never actually been to the cloisters. Like every time I drive by the city, the exit to get to the cloisters is on the way up, and I keep saying, "Okay, maybe next time."
But I understand, I think I spent like almost 2 or 3 hours in the transportation just to go to the cloister from the Metropolitan Museum next to Central Park to the cloister, and it was like the longest trip I ever felt. Oh gosh, I felt like I was really crossing all the country just to go on the top of the island. It was wow. I think
You
you
should have
have
asked me
to.
for a lift. I would have gotten you there in 20 minutes.
Yeah, I know. I chose to take the bus, and it was clearly not the best move to do. But I wanted.
Should have taken the subway.
Yeah, I guess, but I just wanted to visit New York also with the eyes. But the cloister is so beautiful, and it was in September when I was there, and there were like flowers everywhere, and it was smelling so good, and oh, it was amazing, really amazing. I think I've put some pictures on my Instagram, but I didn't post anything. I think maybe on Facebook also, but I think I'll try to post something in the Facebook group if I didn't do it before. I
Oh,
don't
you
remember
should.
if
I
I
don't
did.
think you did on the group.
Well, I'll do that. Yeah,
Okay.
for sure.
That would definitely be awesome. Post all the pictures.
Yeah, because I took a lot of pictures. 'Cause
I love hearing this because I live here, so I kind of take it for granted. So sometimes I forget how special the city is.
It's the same for me. With the tourists who came to visit Paris, like I've never been on the Eiffel Tower. Like what? But yeah, when you live nearby, you just see it every day when you go to school or when you go to work, and it's just always there, and it's part of the
It's
the
just
view.
like part of the scenery. Yeah.
Yeah, the scenery. Yeah, so I understand your point, Greg. I feel the same with Paris.
So you've never been to the Eiffel Tower. Greg has never been to the cloisters. That I don't know. That's just so interesting. You guys have a bucket list. You each need to do that.
Oh,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
So is it kind of like when you live in Washington, D.C., you just don't go to the monuments because it's the tourist places? Is that kind of the mentality, or is it just more, it's our
Kinda,
daily life? Yeah.
kinda, and also I'll do it later.
A
I'll
part
do it
of
Right.
it.
later.
Yeah.
It's not going anywhere.
Mhm.
On the other
I think
hand, On the other hand, we're close to maybe being in a nuclear war, so maybe it is going somewhere, and I should. So,
it's very true. Whenever I go to Minneapolis, the Mall of America is in Bloomington, and I used to live down there. And I think it's kind of the same thing. It's like, it's the tourist mall. You go there to show it to somebody because it's huge, but you're not like, well, I need to spend, X amount of dollars here. I need to, walk around just for funsies. So I think that's maybe the same feeling that you two have, I guess. I don't know.
yeah, kinda.
Okay, enough. Yeah.
I mean, I try to avoid Times Square also because it's very touristy.
Oh yeah, it's
I could see that,
crowded like
yeah.
hell. Gosh. I was afraid to found like Times Square less. Oh gosh, I lose my word. Sorry. Just keep on. I'm trying to find it.
It's okay. I was gonna suggest words, and I'm like, well, I don't want to put words in her mouth. Like less. I don't know.
Like
What are you?
no, when you're amazed by something.
Impressive.
Impressed,
what's
thank you,
That's
gosh.
what I was thinking too, was impressive, but I want to be like impressive because I
Because
think it's cool.
I knew some people who said that you're either impressed or disappointed by Times Square. And I was pretty impressed, to be honest. I didn't thought that it was that big and that loudy and that lighty with so much light. Even at dark, I remember when we went on the Empire State Building that, well, you just can't miss the Times Square section. It's just there. You can't miss it.
Have you been up in there, Greg?
Yes, I
To
have.
ask. Okay.
I've also been up to the top of the Old World Trade Center.
Oh.
That was a beautiful view.
I believe it.
Yeah. And I do plan to. It's on my bucket list. This is one I actually do want to do at some point. I want to dine in that restaurant on top of the new one.
Oh, cool.
I feel that I have to. I feel it's a patriotic duty at this point.
I had the pleasure to share a little time with Greg at the Ferrara. That's the name?
Ferrara's, yeah. It's
Yeah.
one of the oldest dessert and coffee places in the city. It's been there for over 100 years.
Yeah, in Little Italy.
Wow.
It's not in Little Italy. It's sort of in that area between Little Italy and Chinatown.
Yeah.
And if you go there, there's a very interesting smell outside where the blends of the two cuisines kind of merge. It's interesting.
That's too weird.
That's also, if I recall, this is during the festival of San Gennaro.
Yes. There were people everywhere.
Oh, all the roads were closed. It was a pain in the ass to get there and park my car.
Yeah. I believe you.
Pardon my language.
That's okay. We all swear, right, Carell?
Yeah, I'm French. I swear all the time.
Well, that sounded like a phenomenal trip, Carell, and I know that you have many more places that you want to visit, so hopefully you get to go to those and you can share them with us too.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Well, so Greg, the last time we talked, we were talking about your fan fiction. Looks like you have a new addition to your fandom. Would you like to share what you've been up to lately?
Yeah, I took a long break. I took a break. I think it was 8 or 9 months. Every now and then I need one. I mean, I love Gargoyles, but even every now and then I need to put it down and go do something else. So
Right.
So or a bunch of other things. But I always come back to it. I wrote a fic which turned out much longer than I expected to, called Fusion, where I introduce a version of the Ultra Pack that was developed between myself and my colleagues who I've been writing with, who are working on their own fics right now as well, and which you should also check out. That would be Algernon 84, Sir Griffin, Worm, and Master Draymond. So check out their fics. I mean, Master Draymond is doing this great fic, time dancer story about a clan in Hawaii, which delves into a lot of the mythology there, the history. It's a very tragic history. It's not finished yet, but it's should be finished soon. He's been knocking it out of the park. I mean, that's really worth reading.
Excellent.
And but the fic that I'm doing right now, I just posted the last chapter yesterday. It literally just went up yesterday, so you can check it out. You can also check out Detaina's DeviantArt page, because she's been doing art for us. So if you want to see the Ultra Pack, they're on her DeviantArt page, and if you want to see the person who Xanatos hired to help upgrade them with sorcery, who I reveal at the end of the story is indeed Morgana Le Fay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we'll be posting the link in the description of the podcast. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, we've been looking at Detaina's work. It's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, she's very on model. She's one of my go-to artists. I mean, the artists I go to for commissions the most would be her, would be Y2 Hecate, Mara Cordova, Corinne when I'm able to, but Corinne has been very high demand as a paid storyboard artist. She recently finished a art piece which I commissioned from her a couple years prior, a big piece based on the climax of my original fic Rhapsody, which I don't know if anyone here has read, but
I have. Yes.
Then you know what I'm talking about.
I do, and I just want to ruin it. But that piece always gets me like right in the heartstrings. It really does, Chris. Every time.
Have you seen the art?
I don't know if I have.
I am going to post it in the window here, and anyone
Ooh.
else can see it there. I don't even think it's online yet because Corinne is setting up a new website, she hasn't, and she's going to post it there at some point. So hopefully soon. In the meantime, God, people are listening to this and hey, why can't I see it? You'll see it
It's
soon.
Russell Lee. Ha ha ha.
Yeah.
No, just kidding.
Yeah, there it is. It's in the window.
Okay.
Oh, like it's like a teasing. Oh gosh.
And it's Corinne Charlebois, so you know it's awesome.
Oh, I
Uh-huh.
know.
And another one of my go-to artists is Jennifer L. Anderson, and
Of
she
course.
recently drew something very special for me that is now permanently etched into my skin.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We can talk
Yeah,
about that too.
yes, I recently got a
I'm just
tattoo.
marveling at the artwork from Corinne. So yeah, let's talk about your tattoo because I just want to stare at this artwork for a second and listen to you.
Okay, so I commissioned this art piece from Jennifer a while back, and I've been wanting to get a Demona tattoo for a very long time, and I knew that I wanted a vertical piece. I knew I wanted to go on my left calf, and so she finished it, and I sat on it for a month. So I loved it, but you still have to look at it, and especially when you're picking out a tattoo to decide, do I really want this in my body? And of course I did.
Mm-hmm.
So I took that art piece and I made an appointment with a local tattoo artist who is really well known, really good. His name is Kuda Vendetta. I had to book him a month in advance. That's how
Mm.
That's how
in
in
demand
demand he is.
that
Yeah.
he's very in demand. And so I went down there, and he's really good with color. He's a master at tattooing color. And this is a colorful piece. I mean, the
Mm-hmm.
blues, the purples, the reds,
Mhm.
a little bit of gold here and there, and the beige for her top and loincloth. So we wanted to make sure that this looked right, and the shadow effect that he did on the tattoo, I was not expecting, but hey, he pulled it off, and it only took 3 hours. I was expecting it to take longer.
Really? Only 3
Every
hours?
Only 3 hours, yeah, and he has a very light touch, which is another reason why he's in demand. So the first 15 minutes, I'm like, okay, why am I doing this? And then after the first 15 minutes, for the next 2 hours and 45 minutes, it becomes oddly soothing, and I almost fell asleep a few times during it.
Like acupuncture. Like.
Yeah, so it was a pleasurable experience. I mean, I'm gonna get a third one at some point, not gargoyles related.
Okay.
And because my first tattoo was the Phoenix Gate, which I got in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, for the 2007 gathering with a
Oh yeah,
group of
I
other
saw the
fans.
picture that
I
like
just saw. Yep. Oh, go ahead, Carol.
I think you saw the same picture as me. It's like you were several people to do the same Sphinx Gate tattoo.
Now that picture was taken just before I went in to get mine
Oh,
done.
okay.
So I
Okay.
didn't have mine just yet. I was an hour away from it.
Yeah, I think I saw the same picture where it's a group of you. And you have Tom Adcox Hernandez in there too, right?
Yeah, Tom's got that tattoo also,
Mm-hmm.
and so I don't. But the Demona tattoo is something I've wanted for a very long time. I'm glad I finally have it. It's right now. It's in the peeling stage, so it kind of looks icky and gross, but and itchy, and you can't scratch a thing. So I've been moisturizing it often.
Mm.
Excellent.
And
Um,
I'm actually gonna take it in a couple weeks for a couple of touch-ups. There's a bit of blue that didn't make it onto the nose, which I want to get done. So it's only take about 15 minutes, but I'm really grateful to Jen for the awesome design she did, and I'm really grateful to Kuda for doing such a great job with this tattoo.
Mhm.
well, it is incredible. I saw it, I think, on your page, Greg, and the detailing on it is just it's intricate. We didn't share it on our page. Do you mind if we do?
Not at all. And I tweeted it to Marina Sirtis, and then I didn't hear anything for a few hours. Like, oh well, she gets tweeted all the time. And then 24 hours later, she had I woke up and my phone was blowing up because she had retweeted it.
Oh, yeah, I saw that too.
OMG.
You know, it's been a long time also that I wanted to do a tattoo on me, and I didn't know what to do, and like I wanted to be tattooed like since I was like maybe 14 or 15. And
Mhm.
I think I'm going to in a convention of tattooing in Paris in March, I think, just to see how it feels and how it works and everything. But I was intending to have the tattoo of the sleep spell. You see?
Oh,
Oh.
yeah.
Yeah, but I still don't know where. Maybe on my arm, or I don't know where. But it's something that is spinning in my head for quite a while now. And I think your picture of your tattoo just like a trigger for me. Like, now I have to do this tattoo for me too.
Do it.
Yeah.
I also do not have any tattoos, and I always thought it'd be really cool to do the Phoenix Gate. Not the Phoenix Gate itself, but the spell.
Yeah,
So
me too. That was. I think this is the other one that maybe on the other arm that I will do. But maybe on the Avalon spell too. I am still wondering which one.
A friend of mine who shall remain nameless keeps joking about getting the Phoenix Gate broken in half in vows, but one on each butt cheek.
Now, would they do it to themselves, or are they talking about one butt cheek on them and one butt cheek on someone else? You know, very fitting with Goliath and Demona.
Hey, if any new fandom marriages happen out there, you guys do that and send us pictures.
Yes, we will post it. We don't even care. We're going to be flooded with pictures. I see this happening.
But yeah, I mean, I'm really happy to finally have mine. And at some point, Aaron Wheeler, a friend of mine, he's Mark Cordova's mate, talked about, because he has Demona tattooed on his chest. He got that done back in 1998, 1999. We're gonna take a photo of the tats side by side next time we get together. I don't know when that's gonna be, because he lives in San Antonio, Texas, but it's something to do.
But it will happen.
Oh, it will happen, yes.
Oh, that's so cool.
And like I said, I've been writing again, and I'm currently writing a new fic titled Wavering Eyes.
Can you give us any hints on it? Or are you going to keep it in suspense until you're done?
Some characters waver on their principles, but it's a quasi sort of Gargoyles bad guys crossover. The two groups don't actually meet in this, but because one part of the story takes place in New York, the other in Paris, because the Redemption Squad is based there, and Demona is the linchpin of this. She's if you read my fic, The Scottish Play, you will remember that the whip of Queen Mab was unearthed in a archaeological site.
Yes.
She's going to use it as a weapon. Queen Mab was known as the Mistress of Dreams, so you'll see where this goes.
I like this already. I'm going to tell you that.
Yeah, I mean, let's just say she'll be able to affect her enemies from a continent away. It's the weapon of the most powerful being that ever walked the earth.
Right.
Yeah, my colleagues and I are building towards a big story arc that involves Queen Mab very heavily, and this is just one of the steps in that direction.
I was going to say, I knew that your group was going to focus on Queen Mab, and I didn't know if that was coming up like soon or...
Well, it comes up as soon as we all need to Algernon's doing Heroes of Ulster, Chip is doing Pendragon, I'm doing Gargoyles. We need to get these characters to the right point. And then we're going to get into this. It's going to be big. I think right now we're thinking about the first story and the end story. We're all going to write our own versions of it from different perspectives, and the stuff in between is going to be that's what we're talking about doing right now. That's not concrete yet, but
right.
And we haven't even outlined anything yet. We're just going on basic ideas, but we do have artwork of what our Queen Mab looks like already, because I commissioned Tana and she couldn't wait to post it, so she asked me. I said, all right, do it. It's on her page, so go look at it.
When I saw the thumbnail of it, and I didn't read any description or anything, I was like, oh, she's doing like Harry Potter. That's amazing. And then I click on it. I'm like, oh, it's Queen Mab. Yes. So she's definitely out there. She definitely looks like she's up for some, I don't even want to say mischief. She just looks kind of, I don't even know how to describe her, but she's got that sinister twinkle in her eye. She's up to no good.
Our heroes would be happy if it was just mischief.
I could see that. What I love about Taina, and there's many artists I feel this way, but you can just feel the character coming off the page. So you know that she's not one to be trifled with. She's going to be a very powerful enemy for them, I think.
I hope our stories reflect that, do that artwork justice.
I bet they will.
But yeah, that's what I've been up to, Gargoyles Wise, lately. Writing again and getting myself marked for life. I mean, I already was. I may as well have made it official.
Exactly. Well, we will definitely post your tattoo on our page.
Mm-hmm.
And we've been sharing the artwork on DeviantArt, but we'll post links to those as well.
Yeah.
Cool. And hopefully, Canthara Corinne will get her site up and running so we can share the artwork. Because, guys, if you haven't seen it yet, this piece is magnificent.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's phenomenal.
It's the most expensive piece of fan art I've ever commissioned, and it's worth it. She's a professional. She's a professional storyboard artist. She does storyboards for My Little Pony, so she's
She knows what she's doing.
Yes.
Totally.
Well, and she's done the comics too, so yeah, she definitely knows what she's doing.
She did Bad Guys, yes.
Oh, and issue 5 of the main Gargoyles book.
Yeah, she did.
Yeah, and I think the only issue of the comic that looked better than that was issue 10, the one drawn by Greg Cooler.
Yeah, I agree.
I agree too. Well, thank you so much for that, Greg. I honestly cannot wait to read your fan fiction. I'm also going to check out your group's fiction. I'm always looking for really good fan fiction to read, just because that's where my roots are. I really like to write. I can't really draw, as Carell will attest to. But I love reading fiction, and I just love getting good fiction that follows canon, and the characters are so believable. The situations just put you right back in the show, and that's definitely something I really enjoy about your work, and I know your partners, they have to write the same way, so I'm going to get into those too.
Oh, definitely. You definitely should. I mean, there's no... Elisa and Demona aren't doing it in my fanfics.
That's all you have to say. That's all I need.
And again, I recommend all of them. We've all done our own Time Dancer stories here and there, and Algernon 84 has done some great Gargoyles Dracula fics, which take place in our universe, and he took a character that has become a huge cliche and he made him scary again.
Is that Beth, or is that somebody else? Because I saw the Beth artwork.
No.
And
Oh, that was a commission from somebody else. That's not us. Beth is not going to become a vampire in our fic. So
okay, I was confused because of course it gets posted, in the same. Yeah. Okay, so I was wondering about that one.
No, we're not turning Beth into a vampire. Hyena got turned into a vampire.
I saw that with the Ultra Pack.
Yeah, and in the story. So everyone, if you haven't read it, read it. See, please.
Yes. I highly, highly recommend it. It's some of the best fan fiction out there, especially current fan fiction. And it's just, it really does bring you back to the show. I always feel the characters are very spot on. And like I said, the situations are so believable. You feel like the show could have gone this route. So I definitely recommend giving those a read.
Yeah,
we'll post the link.
Yeah, that's what we're going for. That is exactly what we want. I mean, at some point we should get the other guys in here too and do a group interview maybe.
That would be excellent. I would love that.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
We could coordinate sometimes, hopefully. Well, thank you so much, Greg, for keeping us, informed on everything that your group is doing, what you're doing individually, and I can't wait to show your tattoo. I know it's been very popular on Facebook already, but we'll put it in our group too. So maybe people who haven't had the chance to see it yet will get to see that.
Awesome.
I'll even post the comment from Marina just so people know that you did indeed get a shout out.
Indeed.
Well, since we talked a little bit earlier about Carell's trip to New York, I think that really gives us a nice segue into Awakening Part 3.
Indeed.
So when we last left off, of course, the Gargoyles had just woken up in New York. Still definitely not trustworthy of anyone around them. Don't blame them. And we left with Elisa Maza, and she's looking up at the Erie building, and she's going to find out exactly what went on up above. And feel free to jump in with comments anytime, guys. What I love is how this opens up exactly as you think it would happen, like on a drama show. So we leave off with Elisa. She doesn't waste any time. She's going to go investigate. So Elisa Maza is talking to Owen, and he leads her up to the building because she makes a very good point. She can either come back with a warrant and a lot more cops, or he can let her take a look around. I always think Owen chooses the right option, and I don't know if this was maybe something that Xanatos advised him to do, or if he just took that initiative himself because he knows how his employer works or operates.
I would say the latter, and Xanatos didn't
Mhm.
seem at all put off by it. So Xanatos knows how to talk to people.
Exactly. And you see that in the next scene. He is full of schmooze. He knows exactly what to say. I mean, you definitely see a little more of his calculating mind, in the second episode. Not that you think he's benevolent, but you think that he's doing this for a different purpose. But then as he's talking more to Elisa, things don't always feel right, I guess. And Elisa doesn't believe it either. She waits until she's escorted to the elevator, and she decides to investigate on her own.
She's doing an illegal search. I'm sorry, everyone, but she is.
I know. She really is.
But they seem to
It
have.
wouldn't hold up in court.
Don't you think that they seem to have like an history, like they are old acquaintance, and that Xanatos did some things that Elisa was.
Greg Wiseman has said that that's the first time that they've
Yeah.
ever met. I'm pretty sure Owen told him exactly who he was bringing up. So
Yeah.
See, I always felt like maybe they had never met face to face, but I think because Elisa is so good, she just has, and she's hardworking. I mean, she's come from a very hardworking family. Both her parents work, her siblings all work. I think that she just maybe has a little bit of natural disdain for somebody who's gotten to such a position as Xanatos, and maybe she suspects that it's always been less than legal means, but they've just never been able to pinpoint it.
also there's clearly gunfire going on up there. Xanatos admitted to it. I mean, I like
Right.
how he used half truths there to try to get her
Mhm.
off of its back. I mean, those are the best lies, the half truths.
I like when he tells her he repelled an invasion, and she's like, "You're a private citizen, Xanatos, not a country." But he's
I
got a
love his
retort for that
response.
too. Yep. But she's doing her illegal search, and she has her little flashlight. She gets the feeling she's being followed, but she finds a door that maybe they didn't look at when she was getting her initial tour with Xanatos and Owen, and she decides to investigate further. She stops because she hears a sound, but a laugh would be worth a lot of money right now, so she continues. And this is where we see our Garg Beast. He's not named yet, but we know him as Bronx. She goes out to the turrets and looks out over the city. Bronx makes himself more known, knowing that this is an invader in his home. He growls, and she pulls her gun on him, and that's where we see Goliath swoop in. He grabs the gun, breaks it in his hand, and Elisa backs up to get away and begins to fall. So she falls off the castle. So Goliath grabs for her. He really tries to catch her, but he misses, and she plummets toward the city. Goliath doesn't waste a second. He jumps over to catch her, and they swoop over everyone's heads, and he's able to land on the ledge of a nearby building. And we have our first introduction. I love the animation and all of this, but I really love the sequence where she does the talon to face search.
I
Yeah.
was thinking about this one. Yes, I think
Uh-huh.
I think that Gitana, she put the feature like frame by frame just to see
Yeah.
the
Yeah, she put
traveling.
the pan together. Yeah, she put the pan together. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's you see the weird perspective of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting in a professional point of view.
No, I just really love that sequence too. And I really like that Elisa just takes a moment to almost calm herself down. Like she instantly puts herself back into that cop mode where she's still very caring, but she's almost controlling herself. She's just like, okay, let's take it easy. And then she starts talking to him. I'm assuming that she doesn't think he's going to speak back because we hear her surprise a moment later when he answers her.
Yeah, contrast this with their first meeting that she remembers in Sentinel, where here she was scared, but he had just saved her life, and she had just probably calmed down after this huge shock, whereas there he just burst into the hotel room.
Right. And so that's where we learn a little bit more about our gargoyles. They don't fly, they can only glide. And Elisa definitely either wants to get back down to the street or back up to the castle. So we find out how strong those talons are. Goliath scales the wall with Elisa on his back. Again, beautiful view from her point of view. You get to look down and it's like, ah! But all he says is trust me, and she does. And I really think that even though this is very, very early, that's such a significant development already. You know, she really does put herself in his hands. And I love that she just has these instincts that he's good.
Well, she's very open-minded.
She is, definitely. But anyway, they return back up to the castle, and one thing I forgot is the other gargoyles, of course, were causing hijinks. But the trio have decided to explore, so they were causing some hijinks. We'll get back into that, but to continue with the summary, the others come out and they see Goliath talking to that human. So they go forward, and Elisa gets her first glance at the remainder of the clan. But Goliath has been telling her how they came to New York and what happened. But I'll rewind a little bit to the hijinks. So we often see in different movies where somebody comes from another time or another country, or they're just taken out of their norm. And I really sometimes cringe when I see those transitions. I never did with this. I really liked the curiosity of the three of them, Brooklyn, Broadway, and Lexington, and it didn't feel out of place.
It seemed genuine.
It did.
It wasn't forced.
Yes.
No.
Yes, absolutely.
It wasn't forced. It wasn't cringeworthy. It's some of my favorite scenes in The Awakening. Just because you do get their perspective of it, but it's humorous, but you understand where they're coming from. They've never seen a stove. The pots and pans, they crash into those. I like when they shut Broadway in the refrigerator. I think that's hilarious. And it doesn't feel out of place at all. But anyway, they make a huge mess, and that's where Hudson is leading them out of the castle to go up to their roost, and they see Goliath talking to Elisa. Goliath and Elisa agree to meet the next day because Elisa wants to learn more about them. And they determine that they're going to meet on the rooftop adjacent to the castle, because as Goliath decides he can't trust her to come back into the castle. I think that's what that was leading up to. He doesn't really trust her yet, which understandably. And then Elisa, of course, says that a good cop trusts no one. That's why she was sneaking into the building again. And Goliath agrees. He said, that's one thing we have in common. So they agree to meet at sunset on the building rooftop. The action continues because at that time, Owen calls Goliath into Xanatos' office. Xanatos has some details to discuss with him. And so what he does, of course, is he asks Goliath and his clan to retrieve the discs that were stolen from him. Goliath, of course, wants to take some time to think about it. Xanatos shows him a television screen for the first time, and this is also one of my favorite lines, and it's the way Keith David delivers it, but they talk about the living tapestry, and he's just in awe of this television screen.
Huge television screen.
Yes.
Like he didn't exist at that time.
That's not going to last, though.
No, they become very acclimated to that, especially by the next episode when they're glued to the pack.
What I mean is, When do you see Goliath watching TV after this? When?
No, that's true. Only a couple times when they've watched the news.
Yeah, I don't think he's gonna sit down and watch what was on at the time?
Friends.
Friends. Okay, we both went for Friends.
Seinfeld.
Seinfeld. He's one for the classics.
Yes.
Celebrity hockey.
Or when Hudson's flipping through and they watch The Lion King for a second.
Imagine Dance with the Stars with Thanatos.
I think Thanatos and Fox would win, and I don't know if it would be a fair win, but I think they would win.
Yeah, they would manage to win.
That could get me off on a tangent, but I will stay focused. I thought somebody did like a DeviantArt series where they did Dancing with the Stars couples, but we'll get back to that at some point. See, Gargoyles just triggers memories. That's all it does.
Yeah.
But continuing on, Xanatos, of course, is still trying to convince Goliath. Goliath requests to think about it. And after Goliath leaves, because his people must... Yes.
Correction. Goliath doesn't request to think about it. Xanatos requests that Goliath thinks about it. He's not trying to force the issue. Notice that.
He doesn't. That's true.
Xanatos is the type of bad guy that comes with a smile. And not like the Joker. Not like the Joker, I mean, but...
No.
He comes as your friend. He comes as your pal, your buddy, your benefactor. That's how the most dangerous bad guys in real life come.
I think so. I agree to that. And then after Goliath leaves the scene, a door opens. We see a mysterious shadowy figure, and Xanatos reassures said figure that everything is going according to plan.
Greg Weisman hates this bit. It did not animate the way he wanted it to animate. He wanted it to look like Xanatos was actually speaking to an empty room because he did not want to tip the hand so soon, but that pretty much gives away the game.
It did. It always did. And I didn't realize that was done against his wishes like that. Because you definitely see more than just a simple silhouette. So you were saying that Greg Weisman hated how that scene recorded or was animated because you could instantly see, of course, who the silhouette was.
Yeah, it wasn't even a silhouette.
It wasn't. I mean, it was pretty much like her animation cell. I mean, you knew who it was, but...
I know. I mean, it was... I don't mind it now because there's a part of me that thinks it adds a new layer of, okay, what's going on here? But I mean, it's hard to imagine watching this for the first time again, but I have to wonder what it is like for someone watching this for the first time now, what they're thinking.
When I watched it for the first time, I vaguely remember thinking that, first, like you said, I think you said it the best, where it's kind of adding to that layer of what is going on here. But I also remember thinking, oh, they made it really easy for like my little brother to see who it was, So maybe it's more because it was a cartoon, maybe people just kind of assume that they're giving us that credit because it is for younger viewers too. I don't know.
No, it was an error.
Well, now I know that. Back then I didn't. But that's good to know now. So the gargoyles sleep and they awaken the next night. The trio want to explore the city some more, so Goliath grants them the opportunity to do that. He tells them to stay on the rooftops and avoid being seen. And he goes to meet with Elisa on the rooftop. Of course, he waits until he knows she's alone before he reveals himself. And I like this next scene. So our old soldier, he jumps down, and he, of course, wanted to make sure Goliath wasn't being ambushed. And this is where we start to name the gargoyles. They haven't had names up to this point. But Hudson is arguing, to kind of keep traditions the way they are. He says he doesn't need a name after Elisa asks what she calls them. And he says, does the sky need a name? Does the river? And I don't know, almost triumphantly, Elisa goes, the river's called the Hudson. So Hudson admits defeat and he becomes Hudson as well. After he ensures that Goliath is all right, he returns to the castle to protect it. And Goliath and Elisa begin their quote-unquote tour of the city together. Goliath picks her up and they glide over the city. This music is also some of my favorite. It's almost reminiscent of Flight of the Bumblebee. I know it's not quite, but it just makes me think of that. Or you just feel the movement and the gliding over the city. And you just kind of feel what it's like to see it for the first time.
Oh, it's a great sequence. I mean, it's a romantic sequence even at this point, and I just like how they're taking what is familiar and mundane to us. Okay, maybe not mundane to someone like me who lives there, and making it magical.
Agreed. And I thought I remembered Greg at one point saying that the attraction was there from Elisa almost instantly. It took Goliath a long time, but the attraction was almost there from Elisa instantly. Have you heard that too, Greg?
Yes, I have, which is ironic because then Goliath, once he realizes he's the one who wants to talk about it, she doesn't.
Right, she's the one who pulls away.
Yeah, but no, the attraction from her was there to begin with. Although Greg did say that maybe he loved her from moment one also,
but just didn't realize it at that point.
Yeah.
I hope so. They're my favorites.
They're great.
Yes. But Elisa and Goliath, they talk about the city. Goliath mentions that he sees no walls to protect the city, and Elisa said that the biggest threats aren't from the outside, they're from within, something that Goliath very much relates to.
Can I interject here?
Absolutely.
I remember after September 11th, people were saying, yeah, that line is ironic now. But to be honest, I'm going to say something. I think that line is as true today as it ever was. At the end of the day, I think the greatest threats are within, not some outside force. I'm not afraid of what's outside our borders. So.
No, I agree.
There's danger, but there's danger everywhere.
Yes.
The people within are the ones that can truly corrupt us. The threats within.
No, I agree with that too. I think it's very much internal, not so much external. And let's see. So I'm gonna not skip the hijinks this time. This time, the trio, they're sitting on the rooftop, and not named yet Lexington sees someone riding a motorcycle, and he has to check it out. And so he's following behind them, or this driver. We hear the driver scream. He falls off his bike, and he runs away. Lexington, of course, tries to talk to him. And this is one of our recurring characters. We have a lot of recurring characters appear in this episode, but this one's Vinny. And Vinny will stay with us throughout the entire show. He even goes on past what we've seen canon-wise, and he continues. But this is our very first taste of Vinny. He doesn't even have a name. He is just random motorcycle guy. And of course, Brooklyn and Broadway come down and chastise Lexington a little bit. Lexington's apologetic. He just wanted to check out the machine. And Lexington puts his foot on the throttle and he takes off. So he goes for a little bit of a joyride, and he inevitably crashes it into a wall where it explodes into flames. And this begins part of Vinny's issues with the gargoyles, which will be reconciled later. Yeah.
I told the judge what happened in court, but he thought I was intoxicated.
That's a very good impression.
Really? I've actually tried it before.
Well, I know I couldn't do it. Which is interesting, though, because Vinny reports to work later. I'm just thinking about poor Vinny and his plight. Also, since we're on the recurring characters, in this episode, we see some characters that will also continue to be with us throughout the series. We see the three thugs, but prior to them, we see Margot and Brendan. They are driving through a neighborhood, and their car breaks down unexplained. Brendan, in his good-natured personality, decides he's going to take a look and try to fix it himself. Margot is less than supportive and condescending as always.
I love Marina Sirtis' Margot so much.
I do too. She she does this one so well.
I actually just recently got into it with someone who hates Margot and feels that the show would be better off without her. That kind of hate, and I'm thinking, yeah, I hate Margot too, but I love to hate her. She's fun to hate. There's no character on this show that I want taken out.
Right. No, I agree. I love to hate her. She is so right for the role that she's in. And later on, when we learn more about her, of course, it's because she's the assistant district attorney. She has that money. She has that power. I'm assuming she represents that part of society that has that breeding. And I'm not bashing anyone who has money, but she is the stereotypical snob.
She's a wasp. She's a wasp. They're both wasps. Brendan Quarters and Margot. Yeah, they're married. She didn't take his last name.
No, she didn't. I'm surprised she didn't make him take her last name. I'm right.
Yes,
I'm always surprised by that. The first time I realized that he did have his original name and she kept her name, I thought maybe it was just like a fluke, and then nope, you realize that that's how it is. I mean, that's totally cool, but yeah, I always thought she'd make him take her last name instead.
Well, Fox didn't take Xanatos. She's still just Fox, like Cher or Madonna.
Right.
And apparently we don't see them to Thrill of the Hunt, but Billy and Susan's mother, Sarah Brown, she didn't take her husband's name. Her husband's name was, I forget his name, but they have different last names. So the point is,
I didn't know that.
A lot of Greg's married couples, the women don't take their husband's name.
Yet another thing that's very forward about our show. Yeah, I remember. I am going to get a little off tangent since you mentioned Fox. It is just the one name. It's not Fox Xanatos. Correctively, it would be like David Xanatos and Fox, or if someone calls them
David Xanatos.
Right. Yep. But if someone calls them the Xanatoses, she doesn't mind that. Is what I've been in.
Yeah.
Back to our Margot and Brennan. But as he gets out of the car to fix it, we see our last set of recurring characters of this episode, and it is our three thugs. So what I love about these guys is even though they're just thugs, it's not just Jeff Bennett talking to himself. We have Keith David in there, and we have Jeff, and I was trying to remember who the third one was. I think it's Bill. Isn't it Bill Fagerbacke?
I think it is.
I think it is. And I was trying to find it before we recorded, so I apologize, guys.
It's on Gargoyles. I'm going to double check right now.
Yeah, I was just about to pull it up here.
Jeff Bennett, Keith David, and Pat Fraley. It's not...
Pat Fraley. Oh, yeah, I tried.
Yeah, he's Brendan also.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I was going to say he's Brendan. Well, that makes sense. So he gets to talk to himself in this scene. But Goliath, of course, comes to the rescue. First, it's Elisa. Brendan says he's going to call the police. That just makes the thugs happier, and Brendan hands his wallet over. And then Elisa shows up, and she flashes her badge. The thugs don't care. They're going to take her out too, and she runs into a dark alley.
I think they had worse than a beating on their mind, especially if you look at their scene in Hunter's Moon Part 1 where she's undercover and they walk up to her and forcibly talk about first dates.
Mm-hmm. No, I think they had more on their mind than just, yeah.
Much more.
Yes. But Goliath, of course, is waiting for them. And the thugs prove their intelligence. They start to attack Goliath. They don't stand a chance. The two run away. One of them doesn't run away. And Elisa compliments that Goliath is probably the best thing that's happened to the city in a long time.
She's right.
She is right. So our next scene, I know I kind of skipped around with the trio and then Goliath and Elisa's scene, but I don't know, it's kind of fun to do that. But our final scene, of course, brings us to Central Park, where Elisa is also talking about the good in the city, because Goliath has just seen some of the worst.
He's also still coming off of the trauma of the massacre, so I don't blame him for not exactly being in the mood to
to see sunshine and
see-
rainbows.
Yeah, in
Yeah,
this
I
one,
mean-
the massacre was just yesterday.
I mean, the
Mhm.
first thing he said was when he wanted to see the dangers that threatened him and his kind. He's in a bit of a Demona mindset right now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Not
he's
a
very
complete one, but a bit of
gloomy
one.
and no smiling, very, gloomy.
So I kind of like that Lisa calls him out a bit, at least gently. You're judging the city the way humans have judged you, which is exactly what he is doing. So,
Mhm.
I mean, I can tell by that point. I mean, she's being gentle about it. She understands, but I think she was getting tired of the attitude.
Yes.
Stop it now.
I'm spending my entire night off with you, and this is what I'm getting. Worst first date ever, guys. Just saying. But as they are walking through the park, Goliath hears a noise. He startles suddenly, and they are attacked by a mysterious squad of mercenaries. Commandos. Kind of the same, but yeah, they're the commando squad. And so, with Elisa being restrained and Goliath also restrained on the ground, the closing line is that they are tying up loose ends. So that will segue us into episode 4 when we record that. So what do you guys think?
Oh, I love this episode. You know,
Yeah, me too.
This has been played out before, but there aren't really any action sequences in this. I mean, there's a couple of small bits, but it's not like every other episode of the show where there has to be a major fight scene, at least one. So, and I know that came because Awakening was originally meant to be a 4-parter instead of a 5-parter, so things got stretched out, but it's still not very rare for these action drama cartoons.
It is. I was watching this one this morning with Bennett, and you know, it is. It's almost like a very calm episode compared to the other ones, with more humor, which he really liked the motorcycle scene. And yeah, it doesn't have a lot of action in it, but it still is very powerful as far as the sequence goes for the story arc.
It's more based on the character development, and you need some down phase in the pace just to enjoy the fastest one. So it's I think it's a good thing that not all the episodes are just like a hyper fast and a lot of action. Yes.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just need to breathe and think.
Yeah.
Well, and I think it really sets the mood for what Elisa was trying to teach Goliath too, that you know there are dangers, but there's still beauty and calm, and I think it really sets that. You know, there's family time, and there's there's just things that he wasn't looking for. And then, of course, at the end, he got what he was looking for. But, you know, throughout the entire episode, he really wasn't given that. He was given kind of a moment to breathe, but he didn't appreciate it. One thing I've always wondered, and I don't know, maybe I should post this on Station 8, but I've always wondered, like, if Hudson formed the original alliance with Malcolm and Robbie, right? The captain of the guard and Prince Malcolm. Does it ever feel like Hudson doesn't bear the same burdens as Goliath does after the massacre? Do you think Hudson is just more wizened to that? Do you think it's because Goliath, of course, made the decision? I don't know. It's more theoretical.
Goliath is the leader now. Hudson is somewhat retired. I mean, he's just sort of advisor. I mean, I'm sure the massacre weighs on Hudson quite a bit, but he's trying to make the best of this bad situation.
Mm-hmm. He's not in charge anymore, after all.
No, he isn't.
I just always wonder that. Like I said, I should post on Station 8 sometime and ask Greg.
But I think that when we get to near the end of the series Vendettas, that really gets into this because Hudson is out for vengeance when Hakon's ghost comes a knocking.
That's true.
And he gets it.
And he gets it. He does. And he enjoys every second of it.
Yeah. So I think that's where Hudson saved most of his hatred for Hakon clan slaughterer.
Mm-hmm. Goliath is just against everyone at first. Except his clan, of course, and Elisa. But it even takes him a while before he really opens up to her, I feel.
Yeah. A lot of reasons why, but we'll go into that.
We'll get to that.
Yeah.
Later
on.
Hopefully not much later.
Not in a year. Although if we do it consecutively, maybe it will be a year. But it won't be a year of us not recording. How about that? Right. All right. Well, I think that about wraps us up. Do you have any final thoughts, Karel or Greg?
No, I think you covered it up. It's a great episode, like many of the shows. So, what more can I say?
I think I'm going to be saving most of my thoughts for Awakening for when we get to the end of Awakening Part 5, because we've got to talk about the whole thing as a whole. But there's lots of little things to talk about throughout here. That's most of what we've been covering, the little moments. I mean, I still want to plan to one day ask Greg about Elisa's illegal search and seizure, but...
Do you know what I love about that is that she's still just accepted at the castle. Like, Xanatos is like, whatever, you found out about them. I'm okay with it. I'll just make a plan around it.
That's how he rolls.
It's how he rolls. Well, this has been so much fun. Greg, thank you for keeping us up to date with what you're involved with. Yeah, thank you for joining us again. You are always, always welcome. I really hope that you want to continue with us to finish up Awakening at least.
Definitely.
Yay! Yay! And Karel, I loved hearing about your trip to New York. Even though I've heard some of it, it's just magical to hear you describe it again. So thank you for that too.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for joining us, everyone. Have a fantastic day, week, month, year. Hopefully we will see you well before that.
Yeah, I hope that we won't take like 8 months to record another one this time. And I think that, if you agree with me, that next time we will have an old stuff from our podcast that will be coming back, like all the fan arts and fan fictions, maybe.
Oh, definitely.
Yes. We want to start highlighting some fan fiction and some fan art. We have some in mind naturally, but if there's anything that you would like to see on the show or you want us to talk about,
if you have any suggestions.
Yep, definitely reach out to us. We have the Facebook page, we have Twitter, we have DeviantArt. I'm pretty active on the DeviantArt page. I try to be active on the Facebook page, but it doesn't always happen. Tumblr's kind of on the wayside, as is Twitter, but we can get those up and running again.
And of course the website also.
And our website, yes, the home base.
Mm-hmm.
We will see you next time. Thank you.
See you next time.
Same gargoyle time, same gargoyle channel.
Exactly. So goodbye, every goyle, like I said every time.
Bye.
Bye-bye.